member, MK Honorable Dr. Hlophe.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, Honorable Minister, Deputy Minister, Honorable colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. I stand here representing the MK party. I just want to say before I make my input, which will be extempore, we did not get the relevant documentation timeously, and that has put me in a tremendous disadvantage. But I will make my input extempore nevertheless. The first input from the MK is this. We note that the budget has been decreased by 13%. In real terms, this means the courts have to do more and more with less and less. More and more work must be done, but with less and less resources. That's what it means in real terms. The problem with that is the following. In the case of the higher courts, for example, we all know there is a huge backlog. I'm not aware of a single court, high court in this country, which does not have a backlog, particularly cases. This is as a result of a wide range of factors in criminal cases, ranging from load shedding. The other one has to do with the fact that it is often difficult to get prisoners who are appearing in the courts for trial timeously. These are all factors that impact on the finalization of cases timeously, and this causes a huge backlog. Inevitably, the heads of courts have to find a solution. They often resort to the professions and call for attorneys and advocates to come and act on a pro bono basis. They would volunteer their services, they don't get paid. The problem of the head of court is put at a tremendous disadvantage. In some courts, you would have 20 or 30 pro bono advocates or pro bono appointments. I don't know how they manage that. It's a nightmare. Now, correspondingly, administrative staff have not been increased. There are many vacancies throughout the courts in this country which have not been filled. So that impacts on the quality of the work that must be done at the end of the day. Some of these pro bono counsel, once they are done with their work, they go back to the bar, they go back to the attorney's profession. And I've been told in some divisions, they are appointed as pro bono advocates, so as pro bono judges, but they are allocated other work in the normal role, which is wrong, because they are not appointed as judges. They are appointed pro bono. The other problem with the courts being short-staffed is that there are accused who are languishing in jail. In the case of a trial where the accused person, after the trial, where an accused person has been waiting in prison for years and comes up for trial, and eventually he or she is acquitted. This has serious consequences, right? And the budget, I don't see how that has been factored in the budget to ensure that that doesn't happen. The budget, in my view, in our view, considered view as MK, fails also to ensure that during this 7th Parliament, we ensure that the access to justice is improved, particularly by those South Africans who live in rural areas. We all know that South Africans who live in rural areas and who are obviously vulnerable and poor, and if one were to use color, they are by and large black people who live in those areas. Those areas are not developed. Sometimes those areas don't even have bridges. It has been raining. They will not gain access to the courts because of lack of infrastructure in those areas. maybe the department wants to consider other options that may be available. For example, having more and more circuit courts in those areas. Access to justice, particularly in remote areas, is still a huge challenge for us. The other problem about online services, everybody, it's an ideal situation to have a paperless court. The problem is this: you cannot have a paperless court as long as you have load shedding. In order for us to have a paperless court, there must be no load shedding, so that there is access to electricity for 24 hours. This is why the online project we started many years ago will never be finalized in the foreseeable future, as long as we have load shedding. And load shedding does not appear to be going away in this country anytime soon. So as long as we have load shedding, the whole idea about online or e-filing is a dream that we will never be able to realize. The budget also, in our view as the MK Party, doesn't take account of some of the realities which give rise to this caseload. For example, if one does research, cases of malicious prosecution are on the rise. I'm not talking about wrongful arrest. I'm talking about malicious prosecution. Those cases are on the rise, and they impact on the budget of this department. Now, what is the solution? The solution lies maybe in part in training our prosecutors, right? Because they often arise in the context of criminal prosecutions. In the good old days, especially when it came to serious cases like murder, rape, you would find a senior prosecutor being allocated to the case much earlier, so that he or she controls the investigation. I know for a fact I sat in the Marike de Klerk trial where she was murdered, our First Lady. The policeman was involved there. It was Captain Barkhazen. He was involved right from the beginning, and he worked very closely with the prosecutors. The result was a successful prosecution. So I would really urge you that you ensure that the budget takes account of that reality. I realize that I'm running out of time.
You still have 21 seconds.
21 seconds? Well, I want to stick to my time. Improved access, Melissa. Finally, we need, this is from the MK's point, to ensure that there is optimal use of court hours. I know that that is a very old story. It is as old as mankind. It's all very well to say, let's work with a limited budget, but we must make sure that there is optimal use of court hours. This.
Your time has run out.
No, that's fine.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I will call on the EFF, Honorable Advocate Kweban.
Thank you, Chairperson, honorable members, Minister, Deputy Minister, staff from the OCJ. Thank you for honoring me with this opportunity, the EFF. Chairperson, I will start by saying that the Constitutional Court we normally say in the Nkandla matter, was very clear that unfortunately litigation often is for the wealthy, and you'd find that the poor are not recognized. The poor do not have access to the law. And the challenge here is that we have the Office of the Chief Justice, which was established in 2010. And after establishing this office, it was to make sure that there's independence of the judiciary, and the judiciary should be helpful to the poor and the marginalized. But what is currently happening is that since then, the lower courts have not been included. There's the lower courts bill, which is supposed to be making sure that all courts are dealt with and are covered by the Office of the Chief Justice. So the office would have made sure that there is also independence. There won't be unlawful or unnecessary interference with the judiciary. The Office of the Chief Justice, in fact, was then had its mission to make sure that there's transformation, there is independence of the judiciary. But progress in establishing these courts has not been seen up to so far, because that lower courts bill is very critical. Actually, it's the starting point, because how many years now we're still waiting for that. Coming to then the role of the Chief Justice in ensuring access to justice, we are dismally failing as far as that matter is concerned, because the poor cannot minister, and honorable members and members of the public abakwazi ukuthi ba exercise and ba access justice. Si fanele si check ukuthi umuntu ose kuma rural areas uyai experience that particular process. So unfortunately, the current Chief Justice, the appointment yakhe was viewed as a and leadership yakhe is very much questionable. I mean, currently, Sine Land Claims Court, where there's a lot of incompetence and favoritism in leaving the lane claimants very much vulnerable. They only concentrate on evictions, but then they don't focus on the issue of land claims. Now, the Chief Justice will be issuing, apparently, the annual report for the performance of the judiciary. A question, Lapo, as members of the committee which have asked, Uguti, why do we only deal with the Office of the Chief Justice and forget about the performance as well of the lower courts, the functional performance? Because that's where we need to change. Uguti, people, are they really exercising to justice? Because we are now focusing on issues of the payments, issues as in an impact with the poor and the marginalized. So the neglect of the Land Claims Court is questionable. Another critical issue is nayo uguti the various courts, the conditions are deplorable, because if besinoguti ama courts, lower courts are under the Office of the Chief Justice and they are looked up to, dilapidated courts. I mean, there are a number of courts which are dilapidated, and those courts, as when you go there, you don't feel good you can access justice. The courts which I would mention, Uguti, courts Mzumbe, Abo Mzumbe, Endwendwe, Emamilodi, where the courts do not have fully functional system. There are poor maintenance of the existing courts, kunama cracks, the buildings are not working, smelly. Those are the things people are experiencing on the ground. And the Office of the Chief Justice should be helping to handle those kind of things. We have situations, members of the public, where gender-based violence, rape victims, they are just left to be handled anyhow. There's no privacy in a number of courts where they are exposed to secondary abuse, because then you are raped, your court must be heard, you are subjected. Like there's one case in Bloemfontein where the family sat for 4 hours, and when they were called, the case was postponed. There's a lot of postponements. But then coming back to the judiciary and the Office of the Chief Justice, what we are saying as EFF, we are saying the best way to handle a lot of backlogs, because there are a number of backlogs, it's also to change and have alternative dispute resolution mechanisms, have special courts, but also we need the judiciary to be techno-savvy. We cannot have a situation where Judge Tefu is issuing a judgment with notes, but we need a situation where they will have typed their judgments, they are trained on artificial intelligence, they can make sure that they do their work properly. Unfortunately, Chairperson, SEFF, we don't support this budget vote. We are saying more can be done to change and have an independent judiciary. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. IFP, Honorable Hadebe.
Thank you, House Chairperson, the Honorable Minister, the Deputy Minister, Honorable Members. At the outset, and on behalf of Inkatha Freedom Party, allow me to congratulate and thank Justice Zondo for the invaluable work he did as head of the Judiciary and the Constitutional Court during his term. Throughout the years, our country's judiciary has faced its fair share of public scrutiny and low levels of public trust. But public servants like Justice Zondo have worked tirelessly to address and restore public trust in our judicial system and courts. May this new government and the next coming Chief Justice draw on the lessons emanating from your work into a dispensation. According to Afrobarometer, only 43% of Africans say that they have faith and trust in our courts, compared to the 53% of South Africans who state that they have little to no trust in our courts. To put this into perspective, the report states that trust in courts is lower than in media broadcasters and the health ministry and the army. We are on the very edge of the precipice, Honorable House Chairperson, and we need a continued concerted effort from the Office of the Chief Justice to restore public faith in our courts and make constitutionalism and democracy in our republic and unsullied vestige and sanctuary for both present and future South Africans. Therefore, the IFP welcomes the programs such as Program 3 of this office's budget, the Judicial Education Support Program, aimed to provide education program to judicial officers, support services to the Judicial Service Commission and the Policy Development and Research Services to the Department and the Judiciary of Justice. The first step in improving public trust in our courts is to ensure that competent judicial officers and support staff are occupying the roles. Under the previous administration, we raised concerns about the fact that in 2022-2023, the number of personnel decreased. We stand by this concern, as we cannot have the number of personnel in the Office of the Chief Justice decreasing yearly. The Office of the Chief Justice is at the coalface when it comes to combating and meting out punishment in those who have committed crimes. Therefore, this office cannot afford to be understaffed. We appeal to the new government to ensure that the budget prioritizes keeping the Office of the Chief Justice fully staffed. The IFP therefore supports the budget. I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member.